Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's great to see you on this Monday. We have a developing situation in the Northwest Gulf as Tropical Storm Arthur is possible in the next 48 to 72 hours, and that's where we're going to begin this video. We have our first orange of the season, my friends, and it just so happens to be just on the Texas coastline. We've had our broad center of circulation inland in North Mexico, but now the models are trying to pull that circulation back offshore sometime Tuesday and Wednesday, and potentially quickly developing this into a weak tropical system. Now, regardless of that, this is going to be a big time rainmaker, and flooding is going to be a threat across North Mexico and the western Gulf Coast of the United States. This is what it looks like on the rainfall radar composite for you here. Showers and thunderstorms are already developing well in advance of this broad circulation trying to get back offshore. So thunderstorm activity is already abound from Corpus Christi up towards Houston, and this is likely to be a significant rainmaker along the Gulf Coast, including the I-10 corridor, as we go through the rest of the week. This is what it looks like right now on visible satellite imagery. Just gives you an idea of what this spin looks like. Again, the actual Invest, this is the first one of the season as well. Invest 90L is well inland at this point in time, but throughout Tuesday and early Wednesday, it is likely to drift offshore, and that's going to give it the opportunity to quickly consolidate and produce a potential area of spin, giving us a tropical storm or even a tropical depression. Now, again, regardless of whether this is going to become a tropical system, this is the excessive rainfall risk already, and includes a lot of South Texas and into portions of Louisiana. So looking at the weather headlines out of this, a depression or a tropical storm is possible, would develop Tuesday, Wednesday in the Northwest Gulf. Arthur is the first name. Big time flooding rains will likely persist for the week ahead, and that low is going to traverse the United States Southeast. So we'll be talking about just how far inland and east some of those flooding rains could end up getting. When we look at the names from the Atlantic hurricane season, Arthur is the first name of the season. So now let's get into what the models are showing out of this system. The first thing I'm going to show you guys is the high resolution rapid refresh, or the HRRR model. Now this is a model that's domain is the United States, so don't show it during our Caribbean discussion, but this high resolution model kind of gives you an idea of how things could be developing as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. You can clearly see that center coming back offshore. There's going to be a lot of rain on the north and the eastern side of this, well ahead of that center trying to develop. So places like Houston, on over towards Lafayette, Louisiana, even New Orleans, Louisiana, likely to get inundated with some heavier rain. The system, again, is only going to have a short window to consolidate either into a depression or a storm, but regardless, the kind of elongated nature of the system is going to bring some of the heavier rain through southern Mississippi, Alabama, western Florida into Georgia, and potentially even to the Carolinas as we get into Thursday, Friday. This as a rainmaker is likely to stick around for several days. So again, not a quickly wrapped up system here, but you can see that broad spin on the HRRR model. When we take a look at the winds associated with the system, I'm going to bring up the 10-meter winds. So basically the surface-based winds out of this, and you'll start to see, I'm going to drop off this orange area here real quick so it's just a little bit easier to catch this, that right off of the Houston, Galveston Bay area on the HRRR model, we can have a brief spin up right there. Now, again, it's not looking very good on the HRRR model to get a system that's strong enough to become a tropical storm, but it's not out of the question. I'm more concerned about the wind across the Louisiana coastline based on the model, but I'm more concerned about some of the rain in the Houston, Galveston area, and I'll show you that coming up. So let's get into the models right now. This is going to be your European ensemble members, okay? So looping this up, you'll see a few of those members as we get into Wednesday and Thursday develop a system. Now, the European model is the slowest of all the models in potential development in the low coming off of Mexico. So because it has just a little bit more time in the Northwest Gulf, the ensemble members of the European are the strongest, and those members do make this a tropical storm with pressures dropping into the high 900s or just the low 1000s, but that's deep enough to get yourself a quick spin up in a tropical storm Arthur. When we look at the AI version of the European model, you're going to see a few members quickly develop something, again, just right off of Galveston Bay and push into the south central coastline of Louisiana. So you've got about a 24-hour window at most for development. That low then holds together in some fashion all the way up into the central central sides of Georgia and eventually into the Carolinas. The GFS AI kind of mimics or mirrors the European AI, a quick 24-hour potential development area, but not many members of the GFS AI actually develop this into a true low-level center. Again, the biggest impact and the most widespread impact is going to be the flooding rains. The German icon model, again, as we get into late Wednesday morning, early Wednesday afternoon, right near Galveston Bay, does produce a low-level center. So it's possible to get a brief depression or a tropical storm. The biggest problem that I think that's going to happen out of this, so we've taken a look at these tropical models here, and again, you can see the spin right now, is going to be the potential for some of the flooding rains. And I want to show you that right now on the model. So we're going to start off here with the outlook for the rain. So give me just 1 second to pull that up for you guys. That's what the excessive rainfall outlook likes again right now. This is going to be the total precip outlook. So let me pull off these headlines so you can clearly see this. So the first thing I want you to notice is over the next 5 days, the expanse of potential flooding rains goes all the way into the central sides of Alabama. But we'll bullseye right now what could be happening again in the Houston area. This is an area that's very flood prone. Obviously, a storm surge could come along for the ride, but potentially when we take a look at how much rain could be falling, the models are bringing over a foot in a couple of areas. And so that kind of inundation along I-10 and just to the south, Beaumont, Houston, Galveston, Lake Charles, Louisiana, could all be in store for some significant rainfall there. Then the rainfall moves and is significant inland, Baton Rouge, up towards Hattiesburg, Mississippi. When we look at the European model, rainfall expected throughout the southeast. Now, the highest number on this map is nearly 22 inches, and that is what is bullseyed right here over Galveston Bay. In general, if you look around the numbers around Houston, maybe 6, 8 inches of rain in most spots, but there could be some significant inundation of water if anything like the European model tries to hold true. Then you have 4, 6, 8+ inches of rain that extend all the way into the Carolinas in some areas. And friends, it's not out of the question that this low holds together and some part of that circulation emerges off of the United States East Coast for the weekend ahead. And then we'll just have to see if that thing can try and consolidate again as well. So that's the biggest situation with those areas right now. The opportunity for Tropical Storm Arthur to develop in that area. Again, at this point in time, right now, it's just a broad investigation area over Mexico. We'll see if it has enough time once it gets into the Northwest Gulf to develop into a low-level center. Regardless, if you live in these areas from the southern Texas coastline all the way back to the panhandle of Florida and parts inland, please be aware of how wet and potential flood prone these areas will be in the coming days. All right, now we're going to move on to the rest of our video. Great to see everyone. I hope you're doing well. Going to bring back up our 5-day forecast. The next story I want to talk about here across the Caribbean and the Bahamas is going to be the winds and the opportunity for some scattered showers and thunderstorms that'll come along with that. So let me bring up the winds for you guys here real quick. I'm going to bring those up. Temperatures will pop up first, then we'll go to the winds. Now, it's been a very brisk day across most of our area. I'm going to switch over to the visible satellite imagery here so you just get a little bit better idea of this. And we'll start off in our eastern zones. Again, we're kicking up sea conditions. Again, on the information hub at the bottom of your screen, you'll get your tropical outlook, what I just discussed. You're going to get all the watches, warnings, and advisories. Fair amount of marine warnings up right now for portions of the Lesser Antilles, including the Windward Islands, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados as a general swell advisory. The winds have been howling in places like Dominica for today. I know we're towards Antigua and Barbuda where we've had 25, 30, even 35-mile-an-hour winds from time to time. So the easterlies are back into effect here. Same situation over St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, San Juan, on over towards Ponce. Again, you're looking at winds right now. They're in that 25 to 30 mile an hour range, and they're just not stopping for today. There's actually a fire threat in the southern sides of Puerto Rico and on the western side of the island as well. Dry, brisk winds elevating the fire threat across the area on this Monday. But all these winds that you see are in miles an hour and they're howling. Not a lot of rain to cool things off as well. Just a few scattered showers in the forecast right now. Breezy conditions, if not downright windy conditions, have returned to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Arania for today, a 37-mile-an-hour breeze, and my friends there in Aruba have been dealing with 30-plus-mile-an-hour winds most of the day. Again, a few passing showers possible, but we're mainly dry. Trying to get a little bit of convergence right now of some moisture moving back into portions of Jamaica, but if anything else, the winds are back up. You've got the large wave and strong wind advisory for the offshore waters of South Jamaica, including Pedro and Morant Bank. Some of this cloud coverage could spill in a little bit of shower activity along the southern and eastern coast, Kingston included in that. But it's not going to surprise me if my friends in Jamaica let me know in the comment section below that it's been a high and dry forecast for today. When we look at the water vapor imagery here, you can see that the air is relatively dry north and west of Jamaica. There is some moisture trying to transport in back into portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It's been a quieter, drier day for the northern sides of Honduras, the Yucatan, the Cayman Islands. It's been a beautiful day across Cuba and portions of the Bahamas as well. Again, fair conditions here. Not a lot of rainfall at this point in time. I'll bring back on the enhanced satellite imagery here, and you'll see the lightning strikes. Again, few and far between for our areas at this point in time. Do expect there to see another tropical wave moving through, and with that, the opportunity to get a little bit more in the way of some thunderstorm activity. So that's going to be the next part of the video. As we do so, got to take a quick second, ask you guys to hit that subscribe button. I do appreciate that. You got a question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below as well. While you're down there, thank you for hitting the like button. I appreciate you. Going to bring on our marine forecast. If you guys are new to the channel, I do have marine forecasts for over 25 major cruise ports, areas of fishing interest, and harbors rolling at the bottom of your screen. So let's talk about what we're going to be looking at rainfall wise over the next 5 days. So I'm going to bring that up for you guys. Let me just double check my model here. Let me bring this out real quick. I'm going to switch this behind the scenes. You'll see me moving a few things around. Not a big deal. Perfect. Okay, so let's loop this up. First of all, I just want to show you guys the broad perspective again of what is likely to happen with this. And that's going to be our next weather headline here. It's going to be what's next. What I expect, flooding rains in the southeast United States and the opportunity for portions of the Caribbean to have better rain chances as well. So you'll clearly see if I extend this model out in time, watch how this sloppy system, the center is likely to move back inland. Then the question becomes, how much does that hold together as it comes off of the Carolina coastline? Could this drag into the Western Atlantic Basin, try and reconsolidate, or if nothing else, bring more rain to places like Bermuda in the northern and the western sides of the Bahamas? So something to monitor later in the week, even as far south as Nassau, New Providence, but Bermuda being higher in latitude, likely to get some of that rain coming back off the coast. Otherwise, I'll be watching a tropical wave. Now look, this time of the year, these tropical waves are still tied to the intertropical convergence zone, so they're lower latitude. So it's not the robust tropical waves we see August, September, and October, but the next tropical wave mid to late week is likely to get far enough in latitude to provide some good showers for portions of the Windward Islands. So if you live in Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, maybe as far north as St. Lucia and Martinique, you're going to start to see some wetter conditions beginning to creep in. It's going to take some days, but by Thursday, Friday, I'm anticipating better rain chances for your area. Slightly better rain chances from Martinique to Guadeloupe north, but still more of a drier forecast for Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, Saba, St. Bart, Anguilla as well. Again, your 5-day forecast earlier in the video will give you an idea of my percent chance of rain in your area. It's not going to be very significant for the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico in the coming days. This is an area that's going to be windswept. Hot, muggy fire threat is actually a bigger issue here. A few scattered showers over portions of the DR in Haiti, but Santo Domingo, Punta Cana, likely to see relatively dry conditions. Some localized downpours are possible, but nothing is going to be widespread. Relatively dry forecasts across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Even Cuba and the Bahamas are likely to be drier in the short term. It's just how much of this moisture gets far enough south to places like Freeport, Lucaya, and Nassau, New Providence to produce some scattered showers later in the week. If you live in the northern sides of the Yucatan, we're looking pretty good here. Again, most of that moisture is going to consolidate north of the area, but there is, of course, the East Pacific and our Central American gyre. That is still quite active, although focus will be on the north Northwest Gulf in the coming days, we could clearly see the opportunity for more heavy rains over portions of Costa Rica, Panama, and Nicaragua. That's likely to spin north down the road towards Honduras, Belize, and Guatemala as well. So looking at the rainfall kind of our area wide over the next 7 days on the European model, it is really about the rim. It's northern sides of South America, all of Central America, Mexico, back into the United States Southeast. You can clearly see where the heavier rainfall is falling. Again, portions of the Windward Islands. You get north towards the Leeward Islands, not as much rain. The Great Antilles as well. We're just not going to catch enough moisture here. And again, on the European model, it pulls the system off the coast north of the Bahamas. It's close. We'll see how far south it gets, but Bermuda could be one of those areas with churned up conditions. They already have small craft warnings in effect right now. Things could be fairly unsettled in the coming days. Speaking of that, for my boaters, again, fresh winds. We have marine issues right now already for Curacao and Aruba, Jamaica. That could translate towards Belize, the northern sides of Honduras. Swell advisories for Barbados could continue. Additional areas of the Lesser Antilles could be included in some small craft advisories. I'll be monitoring that. And obviously our system in the Northwest Gulf could kick up on some significant wave heights in those areas as well. So recapping what I'm going to be monitoring, my friends, over the next couple of days. Again, we have Invest 90L. It is the first Invest. It is still over land, but it is likely to move offshore for a brief time Tuesday and Wednesday. And with that brief time, the opportunity for it to become a depression or a tropical storm. Regardless, significant heavy rain is likely for portions of the United States Southeast. Already excessive rainfall in red is expected for South Texas into Louisiana, and deeper into the week that's likely to extend through portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and maybe in the northern sides of Florida. For the rest of the Caribbean, expecting quieter conditions outside of some breezy conditions in our southern zones, and again watching the next tropical wave south and east of the Windward Islands to bring some moisture into that area by late in the week. Friends, I'm out of time right now. I appreciate you making Meteo Mundo a part of your daily routine. Thanks for hitting that like button and subscribing. Got a question about the forecast? Let me know in the comments section below. Have a great rest of your day, and I'm back tomorrow with the latest.